world requires you to be technologically savvy. The phone, just now there was a QR scan code there. Some of us were battling to utilize it. It just goes to show you, because otherwise Dr. Matomo had to send the code, the link. We have to download the link. We have to go through all the processes. But this technology allows us to do this thing. The meeting that we are sitting on now, we are connecting with other colleagues from different parts of the world, from different parts of the country, different parts of the continent, just because we can be able to do that through technology. And I'm very, very encouraged to see that we are all discussing these things, because it's not as if this technology will allow us to do the best. Some technology comes with some shortfalls that are creating havoc in our daily lives. Therefore, it is important that we discuss these things. We discuss these things so that we can become better people and not people that are exploited by this technology. You might know that there's risk in this technology, serious risk that can lead to catastrophic situations. For instance, these cell phones that we rely on for communication, some of them, they are now being used as tools of war. We have seen in recent weeks that in Middle East there was a situation where the communication devices exploded at the same time, killing several and injuring several people, because some people have found ways to utilize technology in a bad way. So today we have such an opportunity to discuss the nitty-gritties, the pros and cons of this technology. So without me wasting any time, I would therefore invite our Executive Dean to open or welcome us to today's meeting. I don't know whether if Professor Murulana is here to do that, or there's someone who has been asked to do so.
Before we go on, I have a comment on the QR code that we just scanned. Question 3 there is assuming that everybody is attending the meeting from South Africa. So it's not taking care of those of us that are from outside South Africa.
Yeah, I get your question,
So,
Professor.
yeah.
Dr. Matomu, can you address that, please, on a chat?
All right, thank you very much. I will talk to Dr. Twalo from HSRC. I hope he's here, because that is being taken care of by HSRC, and then I will respond on the chat, Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Can we have the representative of the Executive Dean?
Yeah, Dr. Smurauzi, I think.
Dr. Mrauzi, you can go ahead and be the representative of the Executive Dean, please.
Good morning, colleagues. I'm representing the Executive Dean as it has been indicated. But I'm Dr. Mlauzi Sophie from the Department of Physics. As I'm representing him, I actually want to thank the chair who has just called, as well as the organizers of National Science Week 2024, to acknowledging them. And on behalf of the ED, I'm really pleased to welcome you to the National Science Week 2024, of which we have started yesterday, if you recall, where we were having the physical face-to-face discussions. And this week is a celebration of discovery, learning, and the pursuit of knowledge. And we are actually thrilled to have you all here as we explore this year's compelling theme. What's that theme? Living in a high technology. Should we be concerned as the people are living in this country in Any other country also, they are also using this technology. Are we concerned about that? We know that the technology has become integral to nearly every aspect of our lives, influencing how we communicate, how we work, learn, and even addressing the global challenges, such as the climate change. You recall even 2019 when we had this COVID-19 and hence healthcare. Embracing these advancements necessitates careful consideration of ethical implications, the potential risk, and the societal consequences of living in a rapidly evolving technological world. And the overarching theme of this year's Science Week prompts us to reflect on the duality of high technology. What are those? That's its potential to address challenges and improve quality of life, as well as its capacity to introduce new challenges. Obviously, if we can have a look at what's happening in technology, we are having these two scenarios, the pros and the cons, as the chair has already indicated. Are we adequately prepared for the long-term consequences of artificial intelligence, big data, automation, and digitalization? Are we constructing systems that are inclusive, fair, and sustainability? I think we need to ask ourselves those type of questions. And the National Science Week offers an ideal opportunity to address these concerns. And over the coming days, not only yesterday and today, you will have a chance to engage with science, technology, and ethic experts. Engaging discussions will cover data privacy, maybe AI, the environmental impact of tech-driven lifestyles, and much more. The focus of this week extends beyond the question, should we be concerned? It is about finding solutions and responsible guidance of technological advancement for the betterment of all. Our institution, which is Univen, is really proud to foster these critical conversations, ensuring that science and technology serve the public good. In my conclusion, I would like to thank everyone who is involved in organizing this event and all of you who are participating. Together, we will explore the opportunities and challenges of living in a high-tech world, and we'll do so to ensure that future of technology is one that we can all embrace with confidence. I want to finally say that thank you very much for joining. If there is somebody whom you know who didn't join, you can just forward him or her the link so that we can discuss this issue, which is so crucial. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mulaudzi, for this wonderful welcome. We feel welcome now. Now we understand why we are here. We are just not doing this in isolation. We are doing it as part of the Science Week, National Science Week. Of course, our contribution, as you have already mentioned, is about finding the solution. So again, I will call Dr. Matomu to come on just to again reiterate the purpose of today's meeting, even though the AD has already mentioned the purpose of our meeting here today. But Dr. Matomu, if you can just be brief for 2-3 minutes, just tell us why we are here, what should we expect out of this meeting? Thank you, Dr. Matomu.
All right. Thank you very much, Chairperson. I don't even need 3 minutes. The purpose of the National Science Week itself, before the purpose of this very meeting, is to take the knowledge from, transfer knowledge from the experts or the scientists, which we are, to the communities, to the people who do not do the researches we do. So the purpose of this meeting today is to do exactly that, transferred from science and innovation, that mandate to the University of Venda, down to the Faculty of Science, Engineering and Agriculture. So the information we are going to get today as discussions between these guys we have invited here, whom we know are experts in what they do, is going to then be transferred to the community for the greater good. So that is why we are gathered here today. So let's contribute by participating in the discussions, first by listening to the experts, then we'll participate in question and answers and discussions right after that, as the chairperson will guide us. Thank you very much, chairperson.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matomo. I'm very happy. I think now we have an idea what is going to happen. We're still within time. We're going to be starting with the introduction of our speakers. But before I do that, I just want to also re-emphasize the point that was mentioned by the ED and also now by Dr. Matomo, that we are scientists. We are scientists who are working in laboratories in these prestigious institutions. But our work should be exemplary to the communities in a sense that we should be the one to give guidance. However, the ED has mentioned to us that there was the challenge that we were facing as an entire world, which was COVID-19. So what I was saying is that with the COVID-19 problem that we had, we found our situation where scientists were hijacked by some members of community who became too dangerous for the communities, disseminating information that was untrue, thereby creating another pandemic, which was false media, where people were taking over scientific data and misinterpreting it because scientists were nowhere to be found. Some of the scientists were not even wanting to comment on issues that relate to their field of study, which then goes to remind us, are we here just to publish papers? Are we just here to fancy us wanting to be called doctors, professors, and all that? Are we really the scientists that we think we are? I think the COVID-19 taught us that we need to be the scientists that the community expect of us. It was very embarrassing that we had to rely on American virologists to even explain what that virus was all about, because our own virologists were nowhere to be found, were allowing even people who are uneducated about anything to do with viruses, telling us about the chips and all those things that were thought to be in the vaccines. Many people died because they were afraid to take vaccines, because the scientists who are us were not where to be found in the public domain to give guidance. I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to call my colleague, Dr. Francis Onyando, to give us an introduction to our first speaker. And then from there onwards, I'm going to call upon the first speaker to start give their input in this topic. Dr. Onyando.
Thank you very much, Prof. I must just that this National Science Week comes at a very critical time when we are actually chasing down the advancements in technology that is promoted by artificial intelligence and all the new things that are coming into play. So it will be quite interesting to get the various views from our panel members in the coming discussions. So without much ado, let me welcome our first speaker, Professor Omotesho from the University of Ilorin in Nigeria. Prof, you're welcome.
Okay.
You can click where it says from beginning or from the current slide. Yes,
I want to talk about the use and abuse of technology, particularly from the perspective of agriculture. I remember that growing up, anytime I hear I hear technology, I think of machines. And that was the mode for a long time until I started to know better that when we talk of technology, we're not just talking about machines, we are talking about knowledge. And every aspect, the dean had said it, and every speaker up till this point has spoken about technology being all around our lives. The whole essence of technology is supposed to be to help us improve productivity and efficiency. In this instance, like I said, my focus is mainly on agriculture, and I feel that agriculture is very central because it's something that touches everybody. There are various types of technologies in agriculture that we use today, from precision agriculture, using GPS, drones, and other other things to optimize resource management, reduce waste, and increase yield. We also have mobile applications. These days, everybody has a mobile phone. Farmers are able to get information, real-time data on weather, market prices, and other things that will help them make informed decisions concerning their activities. The e-marketplace is also catching on, where farmers are directly linked to consumers to be able to talk about pricing and reduce reliance on intermediaries. The much vilified intermediaries would say that intermediaries take all the profits where the farmers are not getting value for their effort. So we already know a lot of this. Automation of equipment to reduce labor shortage and minimize human errors. Data analytics, AI, we've already spoken of AI. AI is staring at us everywhere now. Use of AI to predict maintenance and crop management, to be able to make better decisions, improved agricultural inputs. And in this particular instance, this is very, very important, because in this era of the controversy about GMO and other things, improved seeds and livestock are very critical for us to be able to ensure food security. It's a double-edged sword, as we are going to see as the discussion progresses. So, agricultural technology is aimed at modernizing agricultural processes, making them more efficient, productive, and profitable in response to growing populations, growing food demands, and climate change challenges. But like back to the main theme of our discussion, main focus of our discussion, the abuse of technology in agriculture, just like in any sector, we can talk about abuse of technology, the wrong use of technology, the detrimental effects that arise from misuse or over-reliance or wrong use of technological advancements. And one of the biggest areas where we have challenges, particularly in Nigeria, and I know that in many countries across Africa, is the use of chemicals. Chemicals have become so important to our everyday activity. Chemicals in terms of pesticides, fertilizers, and other things. And extensive use of these pesticides and fertilizers have resulted in more danger to people in terms of pollution. You find that people put fertilizers upstream, people downstream drink the same water, and this has some negative effects on their health. And there are even instances where people deliberately misuse chemicals for storage. For example, it's been found, and there have been a lot of studies that have collaborated this, where people would put chemicals, add harmful chemicals to preserve their products so that weevils and other insects will not attack these things. So they deliberately store them without warning the consumer, and the consumer ends up eating these things, and it has some negative effects. So that's one big area of misuse. Then even in terms of fertilizer use, ordinarily you expect that fertilizers should improve your output and everything, but some of them are not used in the right proportion. They are not used in terms of the right type and other things. And all of these have negative consequences, harming our ecosystems, resulting in loss of biodiversity and having very adverse effects on human health. Another area is the use of inappropriate modernization, advanced technologies without proper training. When you are not properly trained and you embark on some of the use of some of these technologies, they can have very negative effects on people. Invariably, some farmers are not well schooled, and when you tell them to use some things and they use it wrongly, it could even result in them having virtually nothing at all in terms of output, which will now become more of a disadvantage. Then we also have the problem of poor quality of fake seeds and other inputs, which can be very harmful in terms of farmers not being able to get anything, or getting things that are not in the active ingredients are not what they say they are supposed to be. This is another major challenge that farmers have in terms of agriculture. We've had instances where technologies are developed by research institutes, and we don't give the farmers all the information. You say, okay, if you do this, you do that, you get so much yield. But we don't tell them that if you don't follow all the recommendations, you may end up getting zero, which is one of the reasons why farmers in some instances will be very reluctant to adopt some technologies, because they will rather stick with what they are used to, and they know that they will not get too much, but at least they are sure they will be able to get something. And there have been instances where, as scientists, we have not carried our farmers along properly. There is the very popular one in the Nigerian space. We have this variety of sorghum that was developed by a research institute. Its yield is about 3 times the traditional one, but it comes with a disadvantage that nobody thought of at that time. The stocks are very short, so the farmers were very reluctant to adopt it. And further questioning shows that they have other uses for this stock. They use it to stock their house. They use it to fence their surroundings during irrigation to prevent small ruminants from coming to destroy their crops and things like that. So there is need for some kind of synergy. If we don't carry, we shouldn't assume that all our farmers are the same level in terms of knowledge with those of us working in the laboratories. Another area of misuse is the exploitation of resources. When we prioritize profit over sustainable practices, this has some very serious environmental degradation issues. For example, in the process of opening up soils, opening up land, you find that the people that do it sometimes are not agriculturists. They just destroy the topsoil, which is very fragile in many areas, and this has some negative impacts in terms of long-term degradation. You also find irrigation. Irrigation is one area that is quite problematic, particularly in my experience in Nigeria. Most of our systems are gravity systems, and you find that there's a lot of waste in terms of water. There's no incentive to use water efficiently, because most times you have a kind of postage stamp approach to pricing, and there's really no incentive for you to use water efficiently because you pay the same price. I've mentioned the issue of improper training before, but farmers without adequate education are going to be dangers in terms of use of technology. So there's need for us to adequately carry along our farmers and ensure that we have very clear instructions, particularly in the mother tongue, not just in English. And our extension workers, that is another area where we are having difficulties in our space. The number of extension workers are getting fewer and fewer, although the use of technology is also helping in terms of being mass media, but there is still no running away from the one-to-one interaction or group interaction to be able to practicalize some of these things. So we find that this issue of proper training is also very important. Over-reliance on technology is harming our ecosystem because a lot of the practices will not be sustainable. So what are the causes of abuse of technology in agriculture? The first one that is listed here is inappropriate technology design. We find a situation where agricultural innovations are biased towards ecological conditions of other countries, leading to mismatch when they are used in different match substantially could limit the potentials of technology in poorer regions where we don't have the same situation. Then another one is that the local adaptation to the local context. See, most agricultural technologies are sensitive to local factors, things like the soil quality, the climate, the infrastructure, market access, and where these are not properly adapted, you may have technologies that will not better the lots of the farmers. It's also been shown that we have overused. You find that in other climes now, people are prioritizing the issue of organic farming and all of that. But it looks like in the developing countries, we are using fertilizers, overusing fertilizers, pesticides and herbicides. And most soils have completely degraded. You can hardly get anything when you don't use some fertilizer. And the concomitant effect of that is the effect on water. Water, particularly in many rural areas where people also depend on the same water that they use to farm, to drink. And this has some very important health, negative health consequences and disruption on the ecosystem, the food web. So we find that excessive application of agrochemicals is a major challenge that we should talk about today. It's a major abuse. The negative environmental impacts resulting from wrong tillage practices, use of heavy machinery, and the use of the increasing use of aquaculture. All of these have very negative effects on the release of greenhouse gases. And this would also contribute to the climate issues that we are having. So we find that, as I said from the beginning, that agriculture has a very, very, is widely open to the wrong use or abuse of technology. And the environmental costs are things that we may never be able to adequately quantify. Then the issue of regulation in many developing countries, insufficient monitoring of particularly the use of agricultural inputs and practices. This allows for misuse and overuse of technologies, and they go unchecked. The issue of making money at all costs and damning all consequences, cutting corners, not being completely full disclosures about the things that we do and all of that. What looks like gospel today could in future turn out to be people looking at, I always have this feeling that in future, people will look at us and say, where were you when all of this were happening? So I think, particularly when it comes to health, what looks like gospel today may sound like very foolish decisions in future. So we have evidences of technology abuse in terms of soil degradation. You can see that picture there. Lower agricultural productivity and increased disparities among countries. But a major area there is the issue of soil, opening up the soil, leading to erosion, leading to degradation in many areas. The health risks associated with genetically engineered crops and inputs have not been fully understood. This is still a growing area, and I think it's better that we err on the side of caution so that we don't do irreparable damage to our populations. So there is also the fear of data privacy concerns, because data is now life. Every aspect of our lives, data out there. Loss of control over sensitive information that we have, particularly regarding our farmers and other. This is a concern that touches everybody, every one of us, because data is life. Economic exploitation. Are we not going to have a situation where our farmers will be trapped in terms of the technology? They are not able to operate flexibly, and they'll be trapped in debt due to aggressive marketing of technology, so that they become poorer and worse off. Then there's the digital divide. Improper training often excludes not just older farmers, even older scientists and rural communities from advancements, widening the gap between the tech survey and the traditional practices. There is the news of a professor who came to talk to his colleagues and said, look, I want you to send, you always talk of attachments, and I have so many books I want to send to my friend in Oxford. Take these books and help me attach them and send them, you know. So in conclusion, there is a greater power for technology, but more dangerous. The greater the power of technology, the more dangerous or the more far-reaching its abuse is. The abuse of technology hinders the need for responsibility. The abuse of technology highlights the need for responsible technology adoption and management in not just agriculture, but in all other sectors. Like I said, I'm just using agriculture to highlight my case. But the abuse of technology highlights the need for responsible technology adoption and management in agriculture and all other sectors. Therefore, the balancing of the benefits and drawbacks is essential for sustainability of our, not just agriculture, of our lives. Effective agricultural extension services to train farmers on optimal use of technologies is very critical to our lives. All hands must be on deck to ensure ethical and responsible use of technology in agriculture and every aspect of our lives. We, scientists, researchers, policymakers, technology providers, and all have to play a collaborative role to ensure that the technology does not wipe us out one day. I thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. This was a very wonderful and eye-opening speech that you gave. We really appreciate it. I hope we're going to have wonderful discussions when we go to question and answers and open discussion. Thank you very much. So without wasting time, I'm going to be calling upon the second speaker, and Prof, if you can stop sharing your screen, please. Yeah. I'm gonna be calling a second speaker, which is Dr. Ganto. We are moving him from from the bottom to number 2. And Mlu, now that we have given you an opportunity to be number 2, please stick to time. I want you to only finish your presentation only in 13 minutes. I see there's a hand. Can we not comment now, rather, and wait until we get to the question and answer session, please? Unless it's something urgent. Mlu, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. If you can make your slideshow, please.
Thank you. Thanks, colleagues. Thanks for moving me up the ladder. I mean, I have a whole lot of another meeting that I'm attending where I'll be presenting. But I'll be quick and just talk about IP, particularly as we are from the Office of Technology Transfer within the Directorate of Community Engagement, Entrepreneurship, Inclusive Innovation, and Commercialization. And this is the office that deals with intellectual property and its commercialization within the university, and of course with the communities that we collaborate with on a number of projects. So in my presentation, I'll just highlight the different kinds of IP, technology transfer and commercialization, just examples. And of course, I'll also mention the act that governs, that is the National Government Act, the Intellectual Property Rights from Publicly Financed Research and Development Act. This is the act that is under the Department of Science and Innovation, under one of their office, the National Intellectual Property Management Office. When you talk about IP, there are different kinds, but you'll hear people saying, someone stole my idea and therefore my IP. I want to highlight that ideas themselves are not intellectual property, unless, of course, you invent something, then you can get patents. You create some kind of an article, then you can maybe have some designs or registered design. You make a particular mark, that would be a trademark. And of course, when it comes to copyright, you need to reduce it into material form. I will get to this in the next slides. So those on the slide are just some different kinds of intellectual property rights that are recognized. You have your trademarks, you have your copyrights, you have your patents, you have trade secrets, you have registered designs and plant breeders' rights. When it comes to copyright, of course, there is no registration. You get a right to prohibit copying and publishing of your work. That is you, the person who has created that particular work. And this applies, among other things, others I might have left out here, literary works, musical works, cinematograph films, sound recordings, artistic works, and some computer programs, as you can see from that slide. So people that are working in this space, when they create any work, it is protected by this particular intellectual property right, copyright. And when you go to other kinds of intellectual property right, when you go to registered designs, there is aesthetic, and you get here protection for 15 years. And the requirements that are given in the act is that it should be, that is the Designs Act of South Africa, it should be new and original. And when we talk about aesthetic, we talk about features that appeal to the eye. This could be a pattern, a shape, a configuration, or some ornamentation. And you would find a lot of designs that are registered at the CEIIE patent office by various companies. And another kind of a design is called a functional design. It has a less number of protection years compared to the aesthetic. It's 10, while the aesthetic is 15. And the requirements that are stated in the Act that it must be new and it must not be commonplace. And the features, of course, are necessitated by the function of the articles that it performs. So you can look at the pattern, shape, and configuration, but those things now are not aesthetic in this case. They necessitate functioning of that particular article. And another kind of intellectual property right is the trademark. And here we have two kinds. When it's not registered, usually lawyers would say it has very little or no legal protection. And they usually encourage people to register their trademarks. You might have noticed when you're looking at particular products, there will be some trademarks that are written TM. That's the one that is not registered. And the one others are written R, and that's the registered with, that is in a circle. So that will be the registered one. And of course, when we talk about registered trademarks, you get lifetime protection, but you need to renew it every 10 years. As you can see in the examples there, I've put some common trademarks, particularly in our region. There's Black Leopards and Takuma Chamadzimandira, 2 football clubs from our region here. And of course, those 2 chicken outlets, Galitos and Nando's. Those are examples of different businesses that have trademarks. And with trademarks, you want to distinguish your goods or services from the goods or services of another person so that they do not use your trademark to sell their own goods. So that's why it is very important to register a trademark. And another trademark in IP right that is recognized in South Africa is the plant breeders' right. This usually applies to plant genera and species, different kinds of them. And the requirements that it must be new, it must be distinct, it must be uniform, it must be stable, and of course, it must have an acceptable variety domination. And the period for protection, it varies between 20, 25, and 30 years. It depends, of course, on the particular kind of plant. And the right that you get here is that once you have created this or invented this plant, you get exclusivity to sell and these varieties. And this right is usually registered with the Department of Agriculture. You will hear the Agricultural Research Council is doing a lot of work on this, and they have registered quite a lot and have made some money with this kind of IP. And another IP that is recognized is a trade secret. And with this, you will find that people keep in secret information, technical list of their suppliers and clients, their strategies. And with trade secrets, you'll find that they run in parallel with the other IP rights that I've already mentioned. And with this, there's no deadline and there's, of course, no very low protection costs. With trade secrets, I've put 2 examples there. You'd know that KFC has their spices and they have not registered this, whether as a patent or anything. They have kept it as a secret. Coca-Cola, the recipe to make Coca-Cola, while others have tried to make similar products, they do not taste exactly the same. So at a particular time, you'll find that very few people know about that. and they have signed non-disclosure agreements so that they do not disclose. So the problem with trade secret is that the person, if the person who signed the non-disclosure agreement becomes disgruntled and exposes it, you have no discourse against the person that is disclosed to. You'll have to deal with the person who has disclosed, that is your employee. So those are just some. And another form of IP is patents. You'll find that people that are in the space of science, engineering, use this kind of IP right to protect their research outputs. And with this, of course, you get 20 years protection. And of course, you must pay annual renewal fees. And with patents and with the other rights, you get a monopoly to make, to use, and import and sell that particular product. And the requirements that it must be new and inventive, it must be industrially applicable. In South Africa, there is no examination, whereas in other jurisdictions, there are examinations. When you talk now about technology transfer and commercialization, is when you transfer your IP rights to another entity in return for royalties in form of cash or money. And usually you'll find that particularly at universities, we do not have the capacity to manufacture. For example, if you look at the first example, that is aspirin, that would be made by a chemist in a laboratory. They wouldn't, in a university, we wouldn't have a capacity to manufacture aspirin tablets. So we would transfer that maybe to a pharmaceutical company, we would take that and multiply, and of course we'll receive our royalties based on that. The other example there, you can see it's probably, one can look at it as part of indigenous knowledge systems. You'll see a Khoisan there with the Hoodia, and this is a plant that's used to suppress hunger. And of course, it can also be packaged and sold. And the last example is very popular in our region, the plant of Impesu, which can also be, if of course it has the capabilities that it's claimed to have, it can be packaged and sold by a pharmaceutical company. So you transfer that knowledge, and of course you get royalties in return. And lastly, as I said, I will also touch on the Act. This Act, of course, governs the effective identification, the protection, and the utilization of intellectual property that emanates from publicly financed R&D. And when you talk about publicly financed R&D, it's usually owned by the recipient of that public finance. Those will be your universities, your research councils. You receive money from NRF and other public offices from government. So this act governs that. And when you use the funds that come from the state, of course, when you commercialize, the commercialization royalties go to the university. And of course, a percentage according to this act must also go to the researchers that have conducted that particular research. So I don't want to dwell much on this, but when colleagues need more information on IP matters, on this act and other related matters, they can come to our office, or you can also just email your request to the email that is showing there on the screen. I think I will leave it at that now, colleagues. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mlu. And I don't know whether you'll be back for the discussions.
I think I must push where I'm going now to present now so that I come back.
Please do. Please do.
Okay.
We want you back. But everybody has your email address, and if they have any question, they will put it on the chat, and then we'll fill the question to you later on. Thank you very much, Mlu.
Thank you.
Thanks. Without wasting time, I'm going to be moving to the speaker who was supposed to speak second, and that's my brother and colleague, Professor Eric Maluta. Prof, if you can share your presentation, we're learning a lot. I think you're going to come with other more information in this regard. Dr. Maluta, or Professor Maluta rather, sorry. Is Prof. Maluta here? I think I saw him.
Can I present next?
Prof, I'm not sure if his presentation is ready.
Not an issue.
Skip and come back.
Yeah, we'll skip him. Dr. Teyana from TIA.
Dr. Teyana is also not here.
Not a problem. So we have plenty of time to do our discussions while we wait for Dr. Maluta. I'll then move on to someone I saw, my village partner, Dr. Livhuwani Masevhe from Department of Science and Innovation. Dr. Masevhe?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I have just shared it a minute. As the chairman, and I'm presenting from the of Science and Innovation, where I am working in the Human Capital and Science Promotion program. So what I'm talking about and my approach today is to look at, from the academic side, from research side, how do we make our research output to become a solution or resolution which can be used, which therefore means that what research has to be the real problem that the society is faced with, so that our research can become relevant and used in the industry. So I will touch a little bit about the interdependency of water, energy, and food. Is going to inform that agriculture can use. And this is informed by the challenges that the local farmers in Venda had access to water and also energy. As you know that we live in a country where energy it's not predictable. And on the other hand, it's very expensive for a small farmer to manage their farms. So we are going to look at the real problem there, how we formulate the solution as part of a research, and the result, therefore, of a product which is ready for the market. So access to reliable and sustainable energy and water in the farming industry, it's quite a challenge. And we had a farm in one of the village which they have dug about 5 boreholes because they thought, since they are unable to pump water using electricity, boreholes it's gonna be the solution. But as they do that, the other problems start emerging, because in one area they dug 5 boreholes that were not working. And when you quantify the amount of money they spent in each borehole, it would have added up to $500,000 simply because of the way they would have been charged. And that was too much for this small farmer. And as the University of Venda Physics Department was to provide energy solution, we realized that putting on the solar panels there without assessing the whole problem and looking at the interdependency of the systems, because when you are in a farm, supplying electricity to get water and to irrigate or to look after your livestock, you need to understand the whole system, because one system affects the other. That's what we did. We look at how water supply or energy, or how much energy you need for you to get the enough water that is required in the farm. And at the same time, how's the availability of water underground or in the streets or whatever source that you are using? Is it enough for sustainable farming over a period of time? And then how the local environment, the climatic condition in the area affect your rainfall, your groundwater level, and other important aspects that are needed in this system. So with that, that's where we, coming from physics, we realize you cannot use physics alone to provide a solution. We then had to borrow some understanding of hydrology to understand the groundwater system. We had to go to look for data science, for data that we need to start analyzing, and the methods that will be useful for predictive analysis, because when you are a farmer, you also need to understand to do things through predictive methods. And the informed way, which is your data analysis, you need a lot of data about the environment where you are at. You also need to start looking at the future yields in that farm, whether you will get return on your investment. So that was to be done in response to the following questions. That despite the potential, as these solutions that we were to provide of solar energy, it's sustainable, but are we sustainable in getting that water out? Having learned that the 5th borehole has been dug and there's no water, what is the real problem there? We needed also to understand that once you put these expensive systems, can you predict or see potential failure of your system way in advance in such a way that you are able to intervene and provide solution without stopping the production? How do you manage your low water output in your system? High maintenance costs, as well as reduction of reliability and user satisfactory. So one other issue is that one of the factors that would have caused the boreholes in that farm to dry up quickly, it's the same mistake that many people do. Whenever they put your borehole there, they would try to get as much water as possible. And they would put powerful pumps there, drive them at a high speed to get more water quickly, which is fine, but you do that with full understanding of your groundwater system, which the solution that we developed as part of the research precisely do that, where you go and do well testing and understand the refill or recharge and discharge of your groundwater system in the aquifers, and what will be the balanced way of pumping that water, which is basically your optimal or desired pumping rate, which then if you meet that rate and you don't go beyond that, you are able to pump your water for more than 20 years, as long as you can, because you have managed to balance the recharge and discharge. But in doing that, in balancing that recharge and discharge, it may not meet the water demand in the farm, because now you are governed by the available water underground, which then brought us into the point of smart farming, where every drop of water matters. And if you check the way we water our crops or our gardens or farms, I think a lot of water is just wasted. Whether you do sprinkling or you do all different methods of watering, we are continue wasting water. But with a smart farming, you water when it matters most. Where now you put sensors on the ground, you are able to know that if I'm planting tomatoes, this is how much water tomato plant need. And you precisely supply that. You can only do that when you are using the artificial intelligence system, which is able to assess the ground, the soil moisture. And now what we have even developed further was to say, even the soil moisture, you are still losing water in doing that, because all the water that you are putting right there, whether it's a drip irrigation, it's just also watering the surrounding area where the plant is. But is that how much water the plant has lost? Which then brings us to another element of evapotranspiration, which is key when you are to determine the amount of water your plant is losing in the process of irrigation. So that is the factor that is now embedded into our model, which is able to talk to the energy required, the water level, how much water you can pump, how they are affecting each other, when to water your plants, how much water the plant is losing. And that was successfully done into one system, which is able to work automatically. And in this system, you are also able to see using your smartphone or any gadget, wherever you are or remotely, to monitor. And also, because we decided to say monitoring only will not be enough, you also need to intervene if there are some drastic measures that you need to do, even remotely. So we then deploy the supervisory control and data acquisition, which is in short a SCADA, which then you are able, it comes between your once you send the information from the farm, from the remote terminal unit, which is the one that collects that information that you're interested in, sent to the cloud, and the cloud will put everything in the servers that we have. From the server, you are able now again to see or to monitor using your device. Then, as part of that, we then deploy SCADA system, which now it's also able to give you access to the farm, where you can now respond. You can switch off the pumps. You can also switch on the watering system or whatever that you want to intervene with based on the information that you are seeing. We decided not to buy because there are systems that are out there. As part of a research, we decided that we want to see this research solution becoming something tangible, real, that is being deployed in the farms. And we chose to develop everything and not even go to shop to buy your Raspberry Pi or your Arduino. We decided to build everything from scratch, even the microcontroller, to ensure that we can enjoy the extension and the stretching our knowledge in terms of the real equipment. So this equipment was developed and tested as part of prototype during the research time. And as we speak now, with the help of Dr. Ganto and the University of Venda, we are in a developmental stage testing this device. There are two more that were developed now as I speak, which are soon we will be putting them in the farms to get some more parameters that we can measure and test. And there is a lot of demand. We need solutions in the market. The crops farmers, the livestock farmers, they need all these devices. So this was just an example of what research can do in bringing a real life solution in the local conditions, where we can apply all different fields of science coming together to ensure that the solution is relevant. So I'm sorry about the noise that you hear. I will stop my presentation right there, and maybe I will engage more on discussion. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Dr. Masevhe. This was a very wonderful presentation, even though the slide came in late, but we sort of got what you were talking about. And I think people are going to have a lot of questions during the discussion. So without wasting time, unfortunately, we are not going to be joined by Dr. Techana. And Professor Maluta just landed from United States of America. He can't give a presentation. However, he's going to participate in the discussions. So I am not going to, we're not going to have any other discussion or any other presentation. We are going to go straight to questions and answers and discussions. And in there, I would expect people to also give their input and also their questions. However, we should be mindful that there are other people who are on the platform. Whenever we ask a question, let's try to be brief and let's keep it to one question. I'll be moderating myself. So in order for you to be recognized, you just have to raise up your hand. And then if you have a question directed to one of the speakers, you say so, and then we will allow you to ask that question. If you have a comment, and then you can have a comment, but keep it short, please. And then let's have a discussion and feel free to express yourself in a way that you feel about this technology, the pros and cons of technology. So having said that, I'm going to start opening these discussions by maybe asking the Prof, Professor Omotesho, whether if the use of technology in agricultural sector as he has presented, for instance, I've seen in American agricultural sector, people use tractors that are equipped with technology. Is that not going to result in the loss of jobs? Because if we over rely on technology, and us being in Africa, where we have a issue of poverty and unemployment, and if we rely more on technology, are we not going to have problems that are going to face, for instance, job employment, and we end up depending on technology, over depending on technology to do our agriculture? Professor?
Yes, thank you very much. We have a different setup, what we have in Africa compared to, say, America. We have a very large farming population, and we can't afford to just use technology to displace all these people. In theory, we talk about moving people out of agriculture into other sectors. But at the same time, we can't just do that completely at this time. It's important to get more output in terms of efficiency and all of that, but we can't just adopt those tractors. In any case, we can't afford them in many instances, and we have to be able to move the people that are going to move out of agriculture into other sectors, adding value along the value chain so that we'll be able to move the people into some more productive activities. Yes.
Thank you very much, Prof. I saw Prof. Maluta had a hand. I have three hands. Professor Maluta, Tiperi Kutama, Francis Onyando. Professor Maluta, are you on the floor? Okay. We're not going to waste time. We're going to wait for Professor Maluta to come back again. Maybe he will raise up his hand. Tipedi, you're on the floor.
I'm here, Dr.
Okay.
Prof. Madala.
Okay, Prof.
Yeah, I wanted to contribute to the discussion, and apology for not having my slide. Uh, when we are looking at this technology, one factor we are leaving out, whether we are contributing it as researchers or people who are designing the technology, is the community around us. When we talk more, I think the first speaker touched that. When we talk more about producing the technology or developing the technology, we end up not uh, being concerned with the community, and we don't consult them, which then there is a gap between technology community, who are the users, to work on that technology, which then comes back to say the buy-in of the technology then sometimes become not good when we are looking at those technological issue and abuse. Then the other thing which comes in, currently we are all talking about whether it's technology in agriculture, energy, and other technology in education. What we are also living as community is consultation. When we talk about just energy transition, where we are talking now moving from uh, coal or fossil fuel energy supply to renewable energy supply, the people who are at the community level, they don't even understand, they don't even know that there is a challenge where as people we need to move from fossil fuel to renewable energy, which then goes back to agriculture to say, even now, people are not concerned, or they don't know as community that we are really saying we have to move back to our cultural way of doing agriculture, which is uh, organic farming, just using the same way of using the organic manure to do the farming, which we are not preaching that gospel. As whether as researchers, as technology developers, then I think we need to bridge the gap between us and the community, which then will assist us, whether it's using this technology to talk about climate change and awareness. And even when we are talking about smart agriculture and whether all types of agriculture, if we are going back, I think we need to also look at the community level to say, when we talk about this abuse of technology, are we really going back to the community for them to understand that even as developers or researchers of technologies, are we really there looking at the basics of where things has to start? I think we can really look as a community of learned people or researchers to say we need to go back to basics and consult the community, do community awareness on the technology. I was also listening to Dr. Masevhe when he's presenting to say, whatever he started from the community, then he's going back to the community, which is what I'm saying. We need also to relook at this thing to say, we need community to be here for us to talk about the abuse, because if now we're talking about it, what next? Which then we also have to answer that question. I will also come back on that question, but I just wanted to contribute to say, let's really look at the gap which we have between us and the community, so that when we start everything, we are talking to the community also. And also now as researchers, we can understand each other and talk back to the people who are the users of the technology. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, Professor Maluta. I see a lot of talks around agriculture and everything. And again, we have another agriculturalist, Tipedi Kutama, is on the floor.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning to everyone. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Tipedi Kutama. I'm the farm manager here at the University of Venda. I want to direct my question to Prof. Omotesho from Nigeria, who just presented. I just want to say thank you for your insightful presentation, Prof. But so regarding to soil degradation, which is one of the biggest challenge that affect the crop yield. So, Prof, given your expertise, I just want to ask your opinion on the most sustainable technology that can be applied to preserve soil nutrients. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Tiperi. Prof.
Thank you very much, Tiperi. One of the things that we have to be mindful of, the soils are of different quality, and it depends on the locality we are talking about. But the most important thing is that we must be aware that the topsoil is very important for the plant. And whatever technique we are going to use, we must be mindful that we are not destroying the topsoil. That is critical. For the person who wants to clear the land, the most efficient thing for him is just to bring a bulldozer and clear off everything. But there are many areas that doing it manually may be much better for the plants in the long run. And the issue of indigenous knowledge comes into play here, that a lot of things that we used to do in the past are more sustainable than a lot of technology that we're introducing. The critical thing with regards to soil is that the type of machinery that we bring in to do clearing of land or preparation of land must not destroy the topsoil. The use of hands is not efficient, but at the same time, we must avoid the use of heavy machinery. Minimum tillage to avoid compaction of topsoil is also very important. So we can't have one recommendation fitting all situations. It will depend on the type of soil that we are talking about and the vegetation that has to be cleared and the kind of land preparation. But you find that many researchers now are even advocating zero tillage in many instances or minimum tillage. The critical.
Dr. Francis Onyando, you have a question. You're on the floor.
Thank you very much, Prof. And thanks to all the presenters. My question too would be directed to Prof. Omotesho from Nigeria. And I'll use agriculture as an example, the way he made his presentation. If we look at technology and especially the National Science Week's theme of should we be concerned about technology now that we live in a fast moving world, especially with the advent of artificial intelligence, and we can see that the pace of new technologies based on artificial intelligence is far much more than what we can cope with. Every day there is a different AI that is being released to do various kind of things. And if you look at what's happening in the world currently, especially with the war in Israel and the neighbors, I think just the other day we heard about what they did with the pagers and the walkie-talkies that blew people all over Lebanon and in Syria. And related to the same is a fact that at one point the United States stopped the importation of batteries from China for using solar power plants because of the dangers of the possibility of controlling them remotely and turning these battery facilities into bombs. And that just shows some of the dangers associated with technology as it is currently, and the AI, the possibilities are immense, and that comes with the possibility for an ethical use of these technologies. If you look at agriculture as an example, we have so many tools right now that can be used to supplement extension services. You can just put your camera on your plants and straight away you get what kind of disease may affect crops. There are AIs to actually help the farmers just to try and see what interventions they can put in their plants. And that also brings the idea that you can have or actually put in wrong information. If you have a group of farmers maybe in our area around the University of Venda, and you have a group of people try to put in wrong information about a particular disease, and this is picked up by maybe government, and they say that we are seeing that so many farmers are talking about this particular disease that is affecting maize. So put in some intervention when ideally that was just a manufactured outbreak. And then all of a sudden now you have the government coming in with all these strategies to either spray the crop or do something in an effort to stop the disease when it actually wasn't there in the first place. And eventually you end up with a lot of crop loss. So my concern is that this is the world that we live in currently. AIs are not going to stop and technological advancement will also not stop. So how do we put measures in place to guard against such an ethical use of technology that might end up still affecting the society? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Onyando. Prof. Omotesho.
Thank you very much. Very interesting perspective. Let me start by declaring that there's no way technology is going to go away. Technology will always be with us, and we need technology. We can't keep pace with feeding the growing population if we don't have technology. The question now is, how do we ensure ethical use of technology? And that is the dilemma that all governments will face in now and increasingly in the future. We have to put in place measures for everyone to understand the dangers, that these dangers affects all of us in the long term. We have to be mindful of that. So we must use whatever technology we have ethically. I gave the example of people using chemicals. The chemicals are produced to do some things, but now people use it in a wrong way, store, just to be able to get good prices for their products. But this has negative effects on people's health. So technology is with us. Technology is key. There's no running away from technology, but we must be able to have relevant regulatory measures put in place to monitor efficient use of technology and to also ensure that everybody understands that in the final analysis, it is for the betterment of everybody if we do the appropriate things. There is no way, like I said earlier, that we are going to run away from technology. We need technology to be able to keep pace with all the things that we need to produce. But we need to ensure that there is efficient and ethical technology, and that our extension, the link between the researcher and the farmer, our extension agents are properly trained to be able to ensure and for them to get the message across that technology is good, but we must use it ethically and we must use it efficiently. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I've left a question for Dr. Onyando on the chat to ask whether if here at the University of Venda, do we have modules which incorporates AI in the syllabus by means of teaching students about the use of AI for smart agriculture, as the examples were given here. So I wanted to find out from him, what are we doing to impact our students here at the University of Venda? Is he aware of anything of such?
Thank you very much, Prof. I think we have well in terms of AI, or rather technological aspects in agriculture. From my perspective, we can't really teach AI, but we teach the principles that allow students to apply, because AI is an application. It's an application of computerized thinking. And most of our programs at the University of Venda introduces students to computer programming. It introduces students to several softwares that you can use. So basically, the students are able to apply these principles, whether it is we just had a presentation from physics. I think I forgot the name, regarding how do you, if you install a solar system in irrigation, for example, how do you remotely control how the pump starts and when it stops? If you are going to irrigate your crops, the sensors for soil measurements, sensors for environmental conditions within a greenhouse. So the students are well capacitated to understand those kind of things. So it is only a matter of, do they want to apply whatever they've learned into the agricultural field? So from my perspective, the university does well in terms of giving the students the basic concepts to be able to apply AI or technological advancements within their various fields of operation, whether it's agriculture or in the biotechnology or even nursing, for instance. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Nyando. Dr. Maluta, you're on the floor.
Thanks, Prof. Madala. I wanted to contribute also on the first question raised by Dr. Nyando, to say technology is here to stay. I agree with the first speaker also. To say technology is here to stay, but what's needed is for us to understand, if we are using it, then what next? Are we looking at the next solution on that technology? Looking at agriculture, like what is happening now, we are all going through technological issues, whether we are doing plowing, we are doing irrigations, we are doing harvesting and all these other things. And the issue is, in reality, if we're looking at the climate change and all factors affecting the climate, then we need to really look to say, this technology, even when it's here, it has to go hand in hand with people, because there are some other factors which people can control the technology which we are using, because it's a man-made thing. And for agriculture, I think normally what people are doing now, we are still using the same technology to when we're plowing, to do irrigation, to still supply fertilizers to the plants. But when we're supplying these fertilizers through the water system and all pumping system, we're also going back to the question which the farm manager asked about soil degradation, because we are putting more chemical into the soil, which then those chemicals sometimes affect our plant when we are doing the next planting season. And then it means technologically we need to be looking at those chemical in, and then coming back to question ourselves to say, then if my soil has changed like this, what then must I do? Which is how we can use the technological issue, use it fully enough for us to solve some of the problem we're using. Then it means whenever we have started using the technology, then we need to also to be researching and also collecting data, so that then we can solve the next problem, which then that problem will also be assisted by also farm workers who will be there to look on on the soil and also to look at the research related to what is happening. Then I think for me, whether technologies is increasing, then we will still have farm workers there so that then we can be solving the next problem, which we are also doing or producing by using the technology. And I think this will be just a cycle of continuous way until we have a proper solution. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Professor Maluta. Can I pose a question before we go to Ms. Kutama? What about the environmental impacts, colleagues? I mean, with all these technologies, we are coming up with devices that are electronic in nature, which at the end of the day, we have to find ways of disposing all this waste, especially the e-waste. Can someone tell us, do we have plans to deal with this? Because it's becoming a problem already in our environment. We had a discussion on Sunday here on the platform where we're discussing about waste management. And one of the questions that was brought in was e-waste, which is brought by technological advancements that has happened in the recent years. And we have all these gadgets that we're disposing everywhere in our water bodies, and our environment is becoming contaminated. What is our plan to deal with that? That is the question that someone can come and answer it if they have knowledge about it. But Kutama, please, you're on the floor.
Thank you so much, Chair. I wanted also to add on the question that you asked previously when you were asking Dr. Onyando about what is it that the university is doing to empower our students. And then obviously, as a farm manager, I will talk from my side on the farm, what our faculty is doing in collaboration with the GTCI Prof from Prof Maluta and Dr. Livhuwani Masevhe as well. We coming up with some program on the farm that we are converting our farm into a digital farming, then where all these AI application will be happening here on our own farm. And you know, our farm it exists so that it can support our students with whatever that they're learning in the classroom. So that means our students as well will be able to get an opportunity to apply some of this technology right here in our own university, so that by the time they leave the university, they had an experience of some of this technology. That was just my input on that. But also, if you allow me, I would love to have my input as well on the last question that you asked.
Please.
Concerning the waste. Also, if you can also look at some of the programs that we are also doing with the farmers together with Prof. Maluta and Dr. Masevhe as well. We are also talking about the same thing because we're looking at how all these management practices that our farmers and ourselves are doing on the farm that is affecting the soil. So we're trying to come up with some solutions that will be sustainable to our farming system. So going back to the waste, if then we can talk about the energy that we can get from the waste, that can also assist. Where we can talk about the biogas, there are people who deals with the biogas here in our campus who specialize on that. So if we can find a way as well of using that waste to produce energy, that will also help us when we irrigate now, when we use that waste and convert it into some liquid fertilizers where we will be irrigating our plants. That way we will also be minimizing the use of the fertilizers, the synthetic fertilizers, which is a very big problem, and which is why I'm happy today we talk about the abuse of this technology, because if we can go back to what Prof. Maluta also mentioned, the IKS, the Indigenous Knowledge System, where our people, they've been farming, and their environment was okay when they were practicing this organic farming. And then we came up with the fertilizers along the way, which at that point, it appeared to be a very good solution, which it was. But I think because of the overuse now, the abuse of those chemicals, we are sitting now with the biggest problem of soil degradation, of the topsoil that is damaged, of all these challenges that we are trying to solve in our field because of the overuse of this a new technology that can come. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation, Chairperson, today, that even if we see the need for this technology, the AI and all this technology, the use of the sensors, the use of what and what, I think the other goal should be looking at the sustainability of our soil, for example. Thank you. That was just my input, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chiperi. Dr. Masevhe?
Thank you, Chair. I want to contribute on the e-waste that you have asked. Here in South Africa, e-waste, it's becoming the thing. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on where you're standing, we are seeing the private sector, those that are in business, starting taking a lead in ensuring that something is done on this space. And one will just encourage the university to consider that. We have got a lot of waste from, as you know, that some years ago when we moved to laptops from desktops, you will find even no space in the university of keeping those big boxes, which have become waste. And maybe as the university, it's high time that we look at how do we disassemble this waste, this electronic gadgets, and create other new things using some of the components that are there. In these gadgets, you also have a lot of toxic things that also affect our environment as they are thrown out. If you look at your lithium batteries and other batteries as well, how do we create modules that teach our students to deal with such things and to start having projects? In a number of malls these days, you start seeing e-waste bins, which are led by private sector, and not too much of a research. Obviously, they collect them for reuse. But when we talk about this e-waste, we will not contribute much if we are not creating technologies ourselves. If we are just users of technology that we don't know what is inside that particular gadget, we will not be able to contribute in terms of how can we repurpose these technologies for other good things. Because sometimes you find that the technology is outdated only on the key thing, but the rest of components can still be used for other purposes. So it's an encouragement for institutions of higher learning that our researchers it will be good to start having research in e-waste in different spaces, where we collect all the gadgets around Thohoyandou and the surrounding area as the university, and start dealing with that in the form of a research for reuse and for other repurposing. So it's an encouragement that that is why in our research we decided not to buy a fully functioning gadget, but to build it from scratch so that we know what exactly goes there. Even our data that we are collecting, somebody spoke about those who use data for malicious reason. We are able to control that. Our data doesn't go to Huawei or to America. The simple gadget, the Google that we use, we don't know where the data goes to. So it's high time that we create our own solution, that we keep our data is safe. And for those who give wrong information, it's very much happening these days that instruments that we use, whether in the hospitals, they are calibrated in a way that they give wrong information sometimes, which are just to push certain products where you are tested to be, and you find that now they say you have you are diabetic, while it's simply a matter of a gadget that has been tuned to give you such results, and you believe that. But in South Africa, the good thing is that these gadgets that are in the market, they are governed by a number of institutions. Your ICASA, some of the components in your phone or that smart device, they have to be certified. So maybe the advice will be, when somebody comes with the device, whether in your farm or in your system that you are operating, check for those certificates, because they have to go through testing with your SABS, with your ICASA, because of communication and all that, so that you are sure that they are within the allowed operation frequencies and boundaries. Because fly-by-nights will give you gadgets that are just robbing you or just giving you wrong information. And lastly, again, on the e-waste, the producer of these gadgets, they are responsible by law to make sure that the e-waste part is handled. They are charged for that. So I think there will be a need, Prof, for education also on the space of legality and the available framework in the country as we use these technologies to say, what else do we need? What is your responsibility of the producer of technology? What is your responsibility of as a user? So that as we talk about sites, we also understand the laws and the regulations around this technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Masevhe. Prof. Maluta, I beg you to be very brief, please.
I will be brief, and you raise a good question. I wanted to start with the story of the Nile River, to say, with plastics and everything, the people at Kenya, they used to be having economy on fish. It's gone. My contribution is that with the e-waste, I still think we need to relook at the community and educate them. But at Univen, we have now started with the research on recycling of the lithium-ion battery, which then will also assist some of the e-waste problem. Let me end there.
Okay, Professor Maluta, thank you very much. Prof or Dr. Onyando, you want to comment on something, please?
Thank you very much, Prof. I think I just wanted to agree with Dr. Livhuwani when he said the producers of these technologies actually bear the cost for recycling, but most of the time this cost.
Dr. Onyando, we lost you. Dr. Mlaudzi, at the meantime, while we try to connect Dr. Onyando, can you come to the floor?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair, and the discussions that were being made by other colleagues. On the issue of e-waste, some of these technologies or some equipment that are being made here, that we are using, especially in South Africa, they are coming from other countries. And how are we collecting them if they are no longer in use? Another thing that I actually want us maybe to assist on is about the adoption of these modern agricultural technologies. Yes, we understand that they improve the economic viability even for the society. And are we not stressing the small farmers who cannot afford to get
Yes.
these equipment that are technological wise? And how do we assist them as the university or the community or the government? Thanks.
Professor Omotesho, can you answer this one while I wait for Francis Onyado to come back? He's back, but can you answer this one, please? Do we still have Professor Omotesho? Prof. Omotesho, please go ahead. I think I'm losing connections with my speakers here. Francis Onyado, you are back. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Prof. You know, when I came back, I found Dr. Mulauzi was also talking about the US. So maybe because my comment was almost similar to just to reinforce what Dr. Livhuwani was saying. So I just want to divert.
Dr. Onyado, we keep losing you.
A bit. Yeah, my network seems to be a real issue today. But what I wanted to bring out is the issue of data, because as technology moves, one of the prime conversation will revolve around data.
No, don't disturb.
We are talking about sensors and intelligent machines, and at the end of the day, all of them extract data for those intelligent decision making. So data protection becomes a really critical issue that might actually end up becoming a national security issue and sovereignty. Right now, we look at enhancing agricultural production, and we use a lot of satellite data. Most of these satellites are in the US and in Europe. We have very few usable satellite data from Africa. So again, it talks to how are we protected. So Africa, we may be lagging behind in terms of developing serious infrastructure that can help us be part of the new intelligent era as we move forward. So maybe that's the aspect of the discussion I just wanted to bring in. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Onyado. Professor Omotesho, there was a question to you whether if bringing in this technology, won't it be disadvantaging the other young farmers who are not maybe at the level where they're making profits to be able to afford this technology? The floor is yours, Professor Omotesho.
Thank you very much. Before I answer that question, I want to make a comment on your previous question about e-waste and all of that. I think that the way companies operate now is that they just look at the economic returns. We don't look at the social cost of a lot of activities that go on. It's important for us to go beyond just the immediate returns. We must look at the social costs. All our actions, and I think understanding and being on the same platform, on the same level is very important. The producers, the regulators, and the users, so that we all know that our actions and inactions have consequences for our neighbors, have consequences for our planet. It is estimated that in another 40 years, there'll be more plastic in the oceans than fish, the way we are going. How will people survive? We keep digging boreholes every day. We are not thinking about renewability of this. What will the future generations use? Our actions have consequences, and we must be mindful of that. Having said that, the issue of affordability, yes, there will always be those issues. But like we also said, technology is needed for us to progress, for us to be able to feed ourselves. But at what cost? At what cost? Is it going to be a situation that will feed ourselves and will destroy the planet completely. So we must be mindful of that. Government has a role to play. Development partners have a role to play in terms of assisting farmers who will not be able to afford the kind of technology. And that also leads to something that as institutions, we have a role to play. We should be able to adapt technology to suit our environment. The same kind of technology that is used in the US may not be applicable to our users in Africa. In terms, do they even have the knowledge to be able to operate some of these things? We should be able to look for cheaper versions of technology, adapt it, make it cheaper for our people, to make it more understandable, make it more manageable for them. But where we can't do that, government has a role to play in terms of subsidizing. There's nowhere in the world that agriculture is not subsidized. Forget all the theories. Agriculture is a special industry because we must all eat. And most times it cannot compete in terms of land. Agriculture cannot compete with real estate. Agriculture cannot compete with any other sector. So that's why government must always be in there to subsidize technology, to assist farmers to be able to get socially and environmentally friendly, economically viable technologies, but they must also be socially and environmentally friendly to be able to stand the test of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Dr. Masevhe, I see you have your hand up, but our time is up. If I'm giving you time, you have to be 20-second brief, 20 seconds. And at the meantime, Dr. Mlaudzi, be on the standby to give us a vote of thanks. Dr. Masevhe.
Thank you, Chair. No, quickly, I wanted to speak on the affordability. These systems depend to be tailor-made to what the farmer needs. So I think that can be determined by the discussion between the solution and the farmer and what they need, and the size of the farm. It will then talk to whether they can afford or not. But my observation is that it can be affordable if it's done properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Mlaudzi, as you come in, please tell us whether if we still have a Department of Physics or you have changed it to Department of Agriculture now, because all the physicists are so knowledgeable about physics, agricultural matter. And this is what we want to see, applied physics, where we don't have Professor Maluta telling us about the Schrodinger equation. No one understands the Schrodinger equation. We want the application of physics in real matters. And again, now we can see that the physicists are taking the lead. What about the biochemist, Dr. Matom? Where are we? You know, me, I love this type of platforms. I love to engage with people. I'm learning a lot. I've made so much notes here. I had lots and lots of questions. I think in the future, we need to have 3 to 5 hours of these discussions because we're generating new hypotheses through these interactions. There's the disadvantages of technology. One of the disadvantages of technology, Dr. Mlaudzi, is that when we have our meetings online, we don't get lunch. Dr. Mlaudzi, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. Hey, yeah, you have put me at the corner. You should have come yesterday, and that's the day we had planned our lunch. Okay, I'm here to give thanks to the community, all the people who gave themselves time to join during these presentations, as well as the discussions, very fruitful discussions that we have made. The chair has already alluded that is physics now agriculture. I think as the university, all the departments are integrated. And what we are teaching our students, actually, it should be applied in the real life situations. And when we are talking about transitioning to this kind of energy, as well as the fourth industrial revolutions, obviously, all these matters must come to play. And we want to thank the organizers who made sure that our discussions become fruitful, as well as the way in which our chairperson was running this. We can actually see and observe that surely these 2 hours was too short for our discussions. But what is left for us is the implementation. What is the next step after these discussions? Are we going to have only discussions during National Science Week? Or as the university, we can also plan something within the year so that we see whether we are actually helping our communities. If we can have a look now here, we've got staff, we've got those who are educated, but we can't see the farmers outside. And how are we going to rob them in if we are discussing something like that? We need to think about surely helping the community, the society, with the knowledge that we have, trying to implement whatever we have learned in a real situation. And as we are doing that, we'll be integrating with our community members. And when we are out, it will be easy for us to talk to them. We thank you very much, especially our speakers who have been giving us so valuable knowledge. We want to thank you very much, Prof from Nigeria, Omotesho. Thank you for giving yourself time to talk to us about this agriculture, of which we surely see that physics is implementable, and even biochemistry, the chair, it can also play a role there, in microbiology. And we also want to thank Dr. Masevhe from DSI, who decided at least to reserve this small time to be with us and explain to us about the project that he did, the research that he did, of which is going to continue. I hope he is also going to give the Department of Agriculture that software that he's building. I think it will be done like that. Okay, thank you, colleagues, and all of us who joined. Let's enjoy the day. We're still going to have some discussions the days to come. I've received something and I forwarded it to Omolobedzi for tomorrow. Please join the webinar that is going to occur tomorrow. Hopefully, she will share it with the whole community of the university. Thank you very much, Chair, for leading us.
Thank you very much. And from me, the chair, the meeting is closed. Thank you very much, everyone who attended. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.